Bro, this, dude, I could cry just how good this is. It is, the emotional payoff here is insane. Since 2016, this has been built up. The foreshadowing, the setup, the character progression, the development. It has been built up since that. Oh, almost a decade, if we're just counting the anime. That is how long this scene has been built up, and the emotional payoff is just something else, man. Like, I'm trying to hold back my emotions and not cry here and break down, because as a fan of anime, this is just such a amazing moment from every different angle, and I gotta talk about it, man. I gotta talk about this before I talk about anything else. I love everything this scene represents. It is just peak cinema and writing. Let's get right into it. I love the build up to this scene where you literally see Regulus just trash talking Sloth. And as this is going down, as Regulus is calling Sloth a dullard, bad, a failure, Subaru's legitimately having just straight up PTSD. He is having PTSD of Sloth, thinking about a man that was anything but Sloth when he first encountered him. And he has had just such an overwhelming impact on the story. It is insane. Because when you look at Sloth, he's a madman. He's insane. He's driven by love. And how does someone that is just so unslothful get a title called Sloth? And obviously, you get his development, his backstory in Season 2, his connection with Emilia. Petelgeuse Romanée-Conti is easily one of my favorite characters in all of ReZero, for very obvious reasons, because of his very big significance, not just to Subaru's character, but to Emilia, and just what his very self represents. It's just such a great way to write a villain character, and then make you see that he wasn't a villain. He was just distorted and warped by a witch. Distorted by Pandora herself. And I'm going to get into all of this in just a second, but I love, in this moment, Regulus is just literally trash-talking Sloth the entire time. And thanks to this just insane trash talk, Subaru comes to the conclusion on what he can do to be able to bring down Regulus, the Archbishop of Greed. And you could just see that Subaru's like, wait a minute, you are calling this man a failure. This man, awful. Even though he gave me more hell than anyone else probably out of the whole witches cult thus far, if we're not counting gluttony. I mean, let's think about this. Sloth is the reason why so much has impacted Subaru's life up to this very point. Thanks to how difficult Sloth was to bring down, he lost Rim. Subaru lost Rim. And I think that is a very big deal that not a lot of people factor in, is that Sloth was such an obstacle and so problematic to bring down that he literally costed Subaru Rim. Rim is gone. Obviously, if Subaru was aware of Rim, if she would be lost or whatever, if Gluttony was attacking, he would try to change things. But thanks to just how difficult the situation was with one of the Maw Beasts, and then also with Sloth, his hands were tied. He couldn't do anything. And it indirectly, Sloth made Subaru have to sacrifice something. He lost something very precious to him. The first person to truly ever believe in him, and the first person that said he was a hero. It was a very traumatic scene. I mean, look at the beginning of Season 2 of ReZero. It made Subaru spiral out of control. I mean, he literally almost unalived himself, or he did, correction, he did unalive because of the loss of Rim. And he almost lost his humanity thanks to all that. He almost went down a path of no return because of the loss that he received from Sloth. So this character is super significant within the story. And I love that, when you think about everything that came to this very moment, Subaru's thinking about how Unseen Hand works. He's thinking about the authority of Sloth. He's thinking about what Satla has done, where she caresses Subaru's heart or grabs other people. He is very well aware of those abilities. And so he comes to the conclusion, the only way to save Emilia is by activating Unseen Hand to be able to save Emilia. And it is such a good scene. Like, I want to point something out that makes this scene just so emotional, man. It's the fact that he does not say Invisible Providence. And I think that is a big one not a lot of people are going to catch. But ever since Season 2, I'm just going to play the clip here. I'll let you listen to it. It's so good, man. Like, ever since he got Unseen Hand, or the authority of Sloth, Subaru has been calling the ability Invisible Providence. But in this moment, he does not call it that. He calls it unseen hand. And in a way, this can be a direct, like, I guess, snide, or just to attack Regulus where it hurts, because Regulus obviously was, mocking and looking down upon Sloth, his fellow archbishop. He was thinking that he was weak, not strong, or anything. And so in this moment, I think it was a lot of anger, pride, and within Subaru that rushed out of him as, like, unseen hand, because obviously it is the best way to really attack greed, because obviously he looked down upon Sloth for so long. It's a good moment, because he doesn't say invisible providence, he says unseen hand. And I think this adds a whole layer to it, showing a mutual respect. Even if it's a very low level of respect, there is some respect here to Sloth that Subaru is giving. That Sloth, he might have been a despicable, vile madman at the end, a husk of what he once was, but he was by no means weak or a failure. And Subaru acknowledges that in this moment. It's like I said, it's a great moment. It's fantastic. And there's so much more to discuss with this. As the hand comes out, we get into the insane foreshadowing since 2016. The eyes. Oh, bro, I love it, man. Like, just the eyes of Subaru when he looks over. It is so focused and demented. Like, he knows what must be done. It is, oh, dude. This is why I love rezero, man. Like, I love this show, dude, but, like, I'm stalling, I'm sandbagging. This is the scene. This is the scene that has been foreshadowed since 2016. Opening 2 of rezero. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in the opening, a very iconic opening of rezero, there is a scene, and you'll probably remember it, where Amelia is near the tree, and you see Subaru running towards her, and you see a bunch of unseen hands swarming around Amelia's face, covering her, and you see one hand reaching out towards her. It's this. It's this. Top A and the animators, the staff, and everything was aware of this for that long, and they set it up in the opening for that long. That's crazy, because obviously that scene is supposed to give an impression of ominous nature, like, oh no, Amelia's about to die. But no, that's not what it represents. In this scene, it is a showcase of love, that despite everything, even if it is indirect, Sloth was able to make do with his wish, his goal, to protect and save Amelia. And that is what happens here. Even like I said, if it's indirect, that is what happens. Unseen hand manages to protect Amelia, protect the one he loves, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful because it's like, his character is such a tragedy. He was someone that literally lost everything. He killed the one that he loved and watched her die in his arms. He literally went insane, and he couldn't win and protect anyone he loved. Pandora manipulated and warped his very mind, and he became what he was at the end, before he was taken down. He is a very tragic man, someone that you just can't help but feel sorry for. And in this scene, it feels so nice, because it's that emotional payoff of his character to this very moment. He finally does what is right. Even if, like I said, Subaru's hands had to do it, Subaru carried him across the finish line in spirit. It's beautiful. It is such a beautiful moment for his character. But obviously, I'm not even getting into Amelia's perspective on this, so let's dive headfirst into that. Amelia's perspective here is so emotional because she welcomes it. She doesn't know what's happening, but she welcomes it with open arms. And then upon it, she instantly realizes who it is. She senses the spirit of Petelgeuse Romanée-Conti. And this is very significant because Amelia, she's a spirit arts user. She can sense spirits and stuff. And technically, as we know to this point, Petelgeuse was a spirit. And she senses his very essence, his soul here. And I love the little animation detail here. As like she is sensing and feeling this, you can see that the hand at the end, it's turning pure white, like it is being purified. It is not dark and grotesque and distorted. You literally see this dark hand turning pure white. It's beautiful and symbolic, showcasing that Sloth's very soul and essence is being purified because he is achieving the objective that he always wanted. There is just so many little nods and things here that just the the animators, the staff, the writing, it's a culmination of just so much quality and absolute cinema to make just such a perfect sequence. I just cannot help but just be in absolute awe. And I love how she acknowledges that Juice is there, and you just see his, like, you just see him, he's just smiling. It's... dude, I like I said, I want to cry. But then, this scene, I love how it's a mixture of Satala, and it's a mixture of Petelgeuse, and how the hand comes in to wrap around Emilia's heart. You can see the darkness on there, and you can see the, the regular heart of Emilia, and Subaru grabs the heart, the bad section of heart, and he just rips it off like a cancerous tumor and crushes it. It's literally what Sloth did, and it's what Satala's technically done. It's a mixture of both, and like I said, the build up to the scene, it's just, oh, it's so thematic, man. It's so good. Like, this is why I love ReZero, dude. It's just, no matter how much I watch this series, no matter if I read ahead and I've read the light novel and the web novel, and no matter how many times I watch this anime, I am always just left speechless after I finish an episode. It's that good, man. I know not everybody gets the same amount of enjoyment and passion and love with a series like I do, but holy crap, dude. Like, ReZero is just so good. Like, this is just such a good scene. Oh. But with that being said, obviously there is more to this episode than this sequence that is just godlike. We gotta talk about Regulus and, his defeat. He's defeated. I think it's very obvious, like, in this episode, as he's crying in pain underwater, you can see the stress on his heart happening. It's clear that he dies. I think everyone at this point, it's obvious. Like, his heart stopped beating because he's having to stop his heart to not take damage. He's so wounded, his body is literally shattered and broken. I mean, if you don't believe me that his body is wounded and shattered and broken, I mean, this man literally has to, like, bend himself around in the hole here, and you can just see the broken nature of his limbs. Like, look at his legs and back and everything. He is not in good condition. He does not look good whatsoever. He is a broken man that cannot climb this hole. Even if his F40 did work properly and he wasn't damaged right now, the fact that his back is probably broken and everything, he's not getting out of that hole. And so I think in this moment, it's clear that it's over. And I find it very ironic as well, and like I said, it gets back into the symbolic nature of Sloth too, and the meaning that it has to Subaru, is that Regulus is the first fight we've ever seen in the story now, where Subaru hasn't had to do a redo. Think about it. Subaru did not have one redo whatsoever. He did not use Return by Death once against Regulus Corneus. That is absolutely hilarious in a way, and ironic, because Regulus Corneus is the self-proclaimed strongest Sin Archbishop. Yeah, stronger than everyone. Stronger than Sloth, stronger than Lust, stronger than, Gluttony, stronger than all of them. No one comes close to him. And to be fair, his ability was strong. But I find it ironic the strongest lost to Subaru. And not even in multiple choice, like multiple lives. Just one life Subaru. He sped run this. He won in one try. And I think that's what makes this scene just so interesting, and it showcases the difference that Subaru had to deal with when it came to Sloth and Regulus. Regulus was just so arrogant, so prideful, so eccentric, so self-absorbed, that he could never accept or even contemplate the defeat in his head, or in this case, accept that he might be wrong or in the wrong whatsoever. And that's what makes this scene just so enjoyable. A pathetic little man losing to someone that is considered a loser within this world. It is just so ironic. It's poetry. It is absolute poetry. And I think, though, what makes this scene even better as well is, like, where Reinhardt comes in from the moon itself. And I think that this one alone, there is a lot of discussion about this. There is a lot of things to really take away. But one thing in particular I will say is that if anyone has doubted, like, Reinhardt's ability to be broken, I think this is enough said. He literally did a Saitama. He launched himself from the moon back to the planets. Now, I do want to say a few things, okay? This isn't technically spoilers, but it's more context to this scene. Apparently, according to Tape, the author of ReZero, Reinhardt saw something when he was up there. He saw something, he looked at the world of ReZero, the verse, and it shocked him to his very core. Whatever he saw was obviously in-game spoilers to some degree. We don't know. Obviously, one of the common speculations is that Reinhardt saw maybe a flat planet or something. Who knows? But the point of the matter is that Reinhardt saw something up there on the moon when he looked down, but it's never elaborated on exactly what. Tape has only told us that there is just something crazy to the world, and that's it. So obviously that's probably in-game spoilers to some degree, but it is pretty fascinating. It makes you wonder exactly what did he see, what did he come to terms with. There's a lot of questions. But anyways, Reinhardt, he pulled a Saitama and he launched himself from the moon back to the planet, and that's a feat that is... yeah, it's going to be a pretty hard feat to beat within the story of ReZero. The fact he could do that says enough. But yeah, the episode of ReZero is, it's so good. Like, oh, just seeing this pathetic man just go down like he did. It's poetry. Like, I love it, man. The self-proclaimed strongest Sin Archbishop going like that, just drowning in a hole. Oof. That's a big oof. Sloth and Elsa went out a lot better. That's all I'm going to say. One thing I want to talk about is this scene with Amelia, with the other wives. A lot of people might not understand this scene, so I do want to elaborate upon it for those that might be confused. Amelia says she's going to stop everybody's heart. She didn't, in fact, let's say, unalive anyone. She more or less froze them all solid. And for those that cannot connect it together, no worries, I want to let you know. As we know, Amelia's hometown, her village, froze over, and everybody got frozen solid in a state of stasis. Amelia even froze herself. That was the whole backstory we got to Amelia in Season 2. What this implies is that Amelia did the exact same technique that she did on her village and herself to the wives. That's what she's done. So there is a possibility that they're not dead. If she can unfall them to some degree, they will be a-okay. So I'm just clarifying that's what happened. It was explained in the light novel / web novel, but obviously I'm assuming they were a little bit cut for time here for certain adaptations they wanted to do for this episode, which is completely fine. It's not a mega loss. They can easily explain it in the next episode, but I'm just clarifying for those that are confused if they really think that Amelia got rid of all the wives or not. No, they're technically in a form of stasis at the moment. The question is, can they survive that or not? Who really knows? It's a gamble by Amelia. But yeah, overall, it showcases that Amelia is moving past her, trauma as well, or she has moved past her trauma, because if this was Amelia at the beginning of Season 2 or Season 1, she never even would have attempted something like that against someone, because obviously it would have brought back the PTSD from her village. So, yeah. So it's significant as well for her to even enact upon that, because it shows that she believes in herself because Subaru believes in her as well. So there's a lot of love and there's a lot of trust between the characters, and you can continue to see the character development as it progresses. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I could talk about this until I'm blue in the face, but I'm going to wrap it up here. I got some things I got to do today, but I love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to gush about ReZero. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.